Ryan, what do we love?
We love ghost stories.
And what do we have?
We have people with ghost stories.
So what are we going to do?
We're going to listen to those ghost stories.
Let's get spooky.
Let's get spooky.
To me, this story is creepy. And this story comes in two parts.
Okay.
I went to college in Rochester, New York. And if you're unfamiliar with Rochester, New York, it is in between Buffalo and Syracuse out in Western New York State.
Okay.
I went to the University of Rochester, which is located like in the city, kind of outside of it. But as far as like colleges to hang out at, it's like not as exciting because on one side there's a river. It's like a triangle, and on one side there's a river. On one side there's this like giant hospital, so there's not like any like bars or anything to go hang out at. And then on the third side there's this giant cemetery, and the giant cemetery is Mount Hope Cemetery. It's a really, really old cemetery. It predates the Civil War. And a lot of the graves and things that are in there are from that time, from the time period of the Civil War. There might be a few places where they're still putting people in there, but for the most part, it's completely filled up.
Still putting people in there is such a terrifying thought. Like
they're still putting some people around.
They're still throwing some people in there. You know what I mean? In the dirt.
It is famous for being the famous people that are buried there are Frederick Douglass and Susan B. Anthony.
Okay. Those are big name hitters. I mean,
yeah, and you'll see on social media around like election times, like particularly like after like the last election where Kamala Harris got elected. It was like a thing. People will post like on Instagram like pictures of Susan B. Anthony's gravestone. Because women all over Rochester will go here and they'll take their "I voted" sticker and put it on her grave, and then it's like her grave's all covered with this stuff. So you'll like see that on social media. Like after big elections and things like that. So that's the cemetery, right? And we would, as like a habit in college, we thought it was a good time. Like we're 20, 21 years old. We're going to hop over the fence into the cemetery and walk around.
I love that you call it a habit. Like you've lost control, and this is just something you have to do 3 times a week.
Maybe like once every other week, but like it definitely became like a thing. Like, are we going in the cemetery tonight? Yeah, we're going in.
I have to.
I went to the wrong college.
It's fun.
Yeah, seriously.
So, I am a very skeptical person. Like on the fault, I want to be Fox Mulder, but I'm really a Dana Scully.
Yeah.
So I really want to like have like an experience where like I see something that freaks me out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I want that to happen, and I think maybe I want it so bad that it never will. I don't know, but anyway, this was my junior year of college, and my parents had told me like after my sophomore year they had moved to Florida, and they were like, you know what, it's not worth it to come home for Thanksgiving for like 2 days, like just stay at college over Thanksgiving.
My God.
So I did. I did.
I hope you were like, I gotta come home. I gotta go ride Thunder Mountain.
I went to like a friend's house like on Thanksgiving Day, but then like the Friday or Saturday after Thanksgiving, I was like, I'm just going back to campus and I'm gonna do like homework and like just chill out by myself, watch some movies. So it was like the Friday or Saturday after Thanksgiving. I do not remember which one. This would have been the fall of 2001. So it's about probably almost 20 years ago. And
just past 9/11.
9/11 had just happened.
I just wanted to, no, I'm not saying, Matt, I'm saying just to paint the picture of where we are as a country.
I can't believe I hear 2001 in my brain. I'm like sitting here quietly just thinking like, all right, so the Used had a couple good albums out. Like AFI is doing, like I know AFI, but does everybody know AFI at that point? You know what I mean? Like we're just like I'm doing.
And meanwhile, over here, I'm like 9/11.
Ryan's
immediately
like,
9/11.
Enough to bring up 9/11.
I'll confess. As soon as I said fall of 2001 in the back of my head,
you thought it too.
I was like 9/11 had just happened. Don't need to bring that up, but 9/11 just happened.
Yeah, that's why Ryan's here.
It was that Friday or Saturday night, and I was living like in some campus housing. I was the only one there, which is spooky enough when you're in one of these big houses all by yourself. But suddenly I hear someone coming in, and I'm like, oh, and it's my friend Jeff. He lived in Massachusetts, and he also decided to like peace out on his family early this Thanksgiving break. He's come back. He knew I was there. We're gonna hang out. But there's no one on campus. There's nothing to do. So what are we gonna do? We're hopping the fence, and
You gotta hop the fence.
we're gonna go to the cemetery and walk around in the cemetery a little bit to have a good time, just kind of a conversation and hang out, and it's not too cold. So
And Paul, I gotta ask this. Like as you're 21 years old, 21 years old.
Yeah.
When you do these hoppings, that's what I'm gonna refer to them
Yeah, the hopping.
from now on, the hoppings. Were you guys like drinking a lot or smoking weed or anything like that?
Yeah, a little, yeah, not like an insane amount, but like we college kids,
Yeah.
maybe like a light buzz, and then we're going to the fence. Yeah, nothing.
You weren't like
We're not,
puking,
like, rolling
puking
a
on grapes.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we're not puking on. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
He's kicking the door behind you.
I always like to confirm whether people are under the influence when these things happen, because I do think sometimes it can heighten things for people. But
Okay, all right, that's fair. So we hop in and we're hopping around, and because it was maybe like late November, a little bit chilly, we had decided we were both like theater kids, and we had just been in some show where there was like these like heavy black hooded sweatshirts we had to wear. So we're like, okay, let's put on those sweatshirts and go over the fence and these things, so we're wearing like these identical black hooded sweatshirts. And as we're walking along, and this cemetery is huge. I don't know how big it is, but I'm sure you guys can look it up. It's a very large cemetery, and it's kind of like almost like you're on a nature walk, right? So at some point, and we're walking around, and we find like some like long sticks that like we're using as walking sticks. It's really big.
You're dressed as the Grim Reaper walking.
Really big dorks out for a big dorky night. Yes.
You guys are both dressed exactly
Yeah,
like somebody else has a ghost story and it's just about seeing you two idiots. They're like, I went to go visit a loved one. And
here's the thing, Matt. So we're walking around the cemetery, and we come to a part where there's some roads in there where during the day it's open and people can drive around. And there's like, we're on a road right here, and there's another road over here that we want to get to, and in between there's like a ditch, right, that we're gonna have to cross through to get to from one. This is gonna save us 30 minutes to cross through this thing. So maybe it's gonna save us 10 minutes to cross through this thing. 30 minutes is probably an exaggeration, right? And this is like a wooded area, right? It's a gully.
yeah.
There's trees and bushes. So we're going to cross through this thing to the other side. And my friend Jeff goes ahead of me, and he's maybe walking 10 feet ahead of me. And right as like we get down to like the lowest point, he's maybe walking 10 feet ahead of me. And I look up to the road on like that we're headed to on the other side. And there's probably like some street lights there. Or like some like low white lighting that's like making so you can kind of see. It's misty, or kind of like maybe there's like a cloud or something, maybe a little bit foggy, some condensation of some kind. I look up and I see something, and what I see as I look up is like two figures in like long black, like shadowy looking robes, like walking across like in like the light of these. It looked like moonlight. I went back and checked. There was not a full moon that night, so there must have been some kind of other like light on a moonlight. I see these two figures moving down the road, and I'm petrified. I freeze, and I look forward at my friend Jeff. He has not looked up. He has not seen these people. I assume they were probably people, but he has not seen them. So I'm like, there's this moment in one of the Treehouse of Horrors where I think it's the Nightmare on Elm Street one, where what's his name? Groundskeeper Willie's like rising up behind Lisa, and Bart sees him coming and she doesn't. And he's like, nah. Yeah, like I was like trying to like be like Jeff, but like I couldn't like say anything else. So I grabbed this stick and like I whap him with it. And because he's like stomping along, he's like cracking branches.
He's beelining towards.
He's had a couple of beers. He's not paying. He's like, oh, yeah, this is great. So I'm like, shut up. And I hit him, and then he looks up, and then he like looks back at me like, why'd you do that? I point up, like, look up there. He sees it too, and we're both like, oh shit. Like, it's like we stay like really still. It's like we're certain that these people are far away.
Yeah.
And then we get the heck out of there, right? We were like,
what did they look? Did they look like people? Just like two people?
It looked like figures, and like as if they were wearing like black cloaks.
Okay.
Like, I'm imagining like kind of like a Lord of the Rings, like it was like kind of like trailing on the ground behind them.
Yeah, the wraiths.
Like, you know, like the ring rays when they're wearing like their big long cloak. That's what it reminded me of. And I've reached out to Jeff since this time happened, and he like confirmed, as I was like, listen, I remember this thing happening in college, and like,
oh wow,
do you remember the same thing that I remember? And he's like, yeah, I do. Yeah. And he was able to describe this same thing to me. So we saw
like that you guys, that's what you saw, and you were both dressed like community theater versions of it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like a local production of Reaper was going on.
Yeah. Well, we credited that to like not getting like caught by them, because we were able to like.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, that must be Frank and Steve.
Yeah.
There's another podcast happening right now with whoever was dressed up as two Reapers on their end, and we looked down in the gully, and we saw two
figures. So gowns, could have been sweatshirts. Hard to know.
That was that night, and like I'd said, you know, like I want to believe, but at the end of the day, like common sense tells me that this was probably just two people doing the exact same thing we were doing.
Yeah.
So maybe not. Maybe we shouldn't worry too much about it. So, and I hadn't thought about this too much at all until maybe like a year later, when we're back up to the old tricks. We're hopping over the
You're a senior. It's a year after 9/11.
Yep. We've really adjusted to our new normal in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
We're no longer meeting people at the gate at the airport, and it's tragic. So we're doing this. It might be like the fall or spring of that semester, or of that school year. I don't remember, but I'm in there with a different group of friends, and the group of friends I'm in there now, there's this kid, Randy, and Randy he was having a lot of fun playing this game where he would like find like an old gravestone, and then like he'd come up to it and be like 1878. And then he would flick a cigarette lighter to like light up the date on it to like see if he was right. And,
oh wow.
So he's doing this. All right. Yeah. And he's maybe right like half of the time.
Yeah.
So we're all like, oh man, Randy, like you're really good at this. So we do that for a little bit. We're walking around. We find another part of the cemetery where there's some mausoleums. Right. So the mausoleums are those they look like little stone houses.
Right.
Maybe like the family names on the top of it, and there's like some doors going in. So we decided we're going to play a new game. And this game is called I'm Not Scared.
Oh.
All right. And to play I'm Not Scared, I'm playing, and what you have to do is you have to walk up to like the glass door of the mausoleum and just like peer like through the glass door, like inch, like where you can see like kind of like the stone coffins and things that are in there.
They had glass doors.
Mm-hmm.
Is that normal? I'm thinking mausoleums, I know, and it feels like they're castles with like cement doors or something.
These had doors that imagine like a wooden door, like with like the little.
Oh, okay, so they were glass cutouts. Okay, I'm picturing more. I was picturing like a sliding door to a like grocery store.
No, not quite like that.
Oh, I
there are windows in these doors, which are
otherwise
metal or stone or something, but there are windows in them. And I'm up, but in this particular door, it was windows that were kind of like the length of the door. And I'm up there like staring into this thing, and it kind of is like, how long can you peer into this thing until like it's too much for you and you're too freaked out and you have to move away from it. So I'm up there doing it, and I don't know that my friend Randy is silently like creeping up behind me. Okay. So
Oh, boy.
he's silently creeping up behind me, and he had this cigarette lighter that he's using to like light up the gravestones. And he very silently like gets it up, so it's like right next to my head, and then like flicks it and like flicks the flame up. And he flicks the flame up, and what I see is scratched into the glass of this mausoleum pentagrams 666. It says like devil worship, and it's just like pentagrams and 666, and like sometimes some places it says like Satan scratched all over the glass door here. Like it looked like someone had done it with like a razor blade or a knife.
Ew.
And and that really freaked me out.
Yeah.
And then
Oh
so
my God.
right,
I would not like that at all.
so we were like, oh, so again we're like, okay, like this is their spot.
Yeah.
We need to get out of there. So we leave, and I didn't really think about the connection between these two until maybe like another year after that. I was still living in Rochester, and I had a friend that was really into heavy metal, and he had mentioned that the police presence around the cemetery is always really upped at certain times of the year when they know there's like satanic holidays or something, because it's known that people will break into the cemetery and grave rob stuff. So Matt's just like, yeah, like this is, I don't know if this is common knowledge, but so I went on and looked.
Sadly, I'm like,
Yeah.
mm.
I'm on board.
You're like, what's your point?
No,
So I had gone and I sent a link there. So like this is a story from right around that same time where like it was confirmed that people had been breaking into this cemetery and they had actually literally stolen the skull of a Civil War general.
Whoa.
And yeah, and it is my theory that the people that I saw that first night may have been grave robbers.
Oh,
wow.
For some kind of satanic ritual, which is why they would dressed up like psychos.
It's not crazy. That's not crazy. That makes sense. I mean,
it makes sense, and the reason why I think it's scary is, to me, it's really freaky that there's people that would like buy into something like Satanism at the level that they're literally digging up bodies.
Yeah, and that's terrifying.
Yeah,
stealing skulls,
specifically skulls, and trying to get the skull of like a more high status, prominent individual. Like they went after the general that was buried there.
I mean, that's crazy.
That's so because they like all these stories that we've heard from people and stuff. Anytime there's like a spirit or a ghost or something that they see, it's so terrifying. But like there's other level of terrifying that's like, you know, the real nightmare is people.
Yeah.
So the idea that like you could have accidentally stumbled upon like them in the middle of a ceremony and then been murdered yourself, or
then it's like, all right, here we go.
At least beat up. I don't know what these people are like. Yeah. Ooh.
That's a great story.
That's my story.
I also love the image of a lighter and then like illuminating the door or like what's etched in there is like, that's such a cool, what a great visual. It
is. I swear to God that is all 100% true.
Yeah.
Things that
did you ever want to go back? Because I assume as a hopper, you went back to the graveyard. Was it too creepy to go back to that particular mausoleum and look again?
After I graduated college, I still lived in Rochester for maybe like 8 or 9 years, but the fun of hopping over the fence into the cemetery wore off once I like had a job and was able to like socialize like an adult, you know.
That's what happens to every hopper, you know. That's what SLC punk is about.
It's a classic tale of the hopper.
Classic tale, man.
So
The hopper sells out.
I did go back there from time to time, like maybe like during the daytime, just because like it really is like a beautiful place to visit, and there's lots of like really old stone structures and things there that are beautiful. It never occurred to me to try to find that mausoleum that had the stuff scratched into it. And honestly, I don't know that I ever could have. The cemetery is just one of those really, really big cemeteries. That was in the like late at night, like midnight, 1 a.m. Like, I don't know that I would have known like this hill from here to this hill, you know, it's a half mile away. I don't know that I would have been able to figure it out again.
Well, we will.
If you were meant to find it, you would have found it. It's like a fun, like weird.
Someone who's dedicated. And now if I ever go back to Rochester, you guys are making me think that this is the way I should spend my time.
Yeah.
I think you should go back. And if you don't, we're going to.
Yeah.
Like, just visit every gathering of mausoleums in the place. Because who's going to replace the glass door on?
Unless it's broken, I don't think. And if they did it to one glass door, there's a good chance it's done on maybe some other.
Yeah, someone's family is going to be like, well, you did it to their glass door. So now you're gonna do it to now you're fixing every glass door in the whole cemetery. No
That's
one
right.
got that kind of money.
We should look up we should look up like when the next like blood moon is or something, and then go just to see if people show up.
Or we could just go on a normal night.
You know what? I want to see a ceremony.
I'll show you a ceremony.
I want to see a ceremony, but a genius thing. I want to be dressed sort of hooded so that they're like.
I think that's the move. I think you guys actually protected yourselves by being in these like kind of.
I think so too.
Theater hoodies. They probably were like, maybe they're with us.
You know, and like we had picked up these big, like we found like tree branches that we turned into like walking sticks, like very like tongue in cheek. We were like, yeah, we need these for protection.
Yeah. And like, meanwhile, you're like, no, we need these.
Yeah. Then as we're running out, we're like,
hold on to the stick.
I love in the cartoon version of this, you just keep finding more items to put together to like, you're like, oh, look at these long blades in the grass. And like you attach that to the stick and you're like, interesting. A sickle.
That's great. Well, Paul, that's an awesome story. I appreciate it. And if you go back, please let us know. And I hope it's not out of question that we could go, Matt.
Yes. We should go to that cemetery in general. That sounds cool.
Yeah. Mount Hope Cemetery. I mean, Rochester, I don't know how often you guys are on the East Coast. It's a 6-hour ride from Boston.
Yeah.
How far like I was just in Albany. How far is it from Albany?
Maybe like 3 hours from Albany.
So it's still a lot further north.
Well, it's west. It's west.
Okay, gotcha.
It's very near Buffalo. Rochester and Buffalo are less than an hour drive.
Got
from
it.
each other.
And how long is it, or how far is it from 9/11?
Well,
it's been
20
like 20
years.
We're coming up on the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
Okay, great.
But still very close. Very close. That was great.
That was great. Scare bones for Paul.
Moving things along, different type of story.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of I love what you were saying about, we're always scared of the dead, but being scared of the alive is probably worse. And witnessing somebody who's doing ceremonies or sacrifices, that's terrifying to me.
Yeah.
So I'm still going to give it 7.4 scare bones, because the fact that they may have been somewhere in the midst of some crazy ceremonial shit going on, that's terrifying to me.
Yeah. I'm going to go 7.9. Same reasons. Like the idea that they also could have, like, if they had left an hour earlier or a half hour, like they might have walked in on, like they might have, like the idea of seeing two people cloaked walking through a graveyard, I would have a heart attack. Like,
at that age, I would have. I don't know what I would have done. I don't know what I would have done at this age.
I know. I can't believe they stayed still. That's the most amazing thing. Is like,
no, he hit his friend. He hit his friend, which is
to tell him to be quiet.
I just picture him just like baseball batting his friend in the back of the head.
You and I, two idiots in there, like you'd strike me. I'd scream. It would get us.
You'd be like, "Ow!" They'd be like, "Come over here. We're going to drink you."
Yeah. Oh God.
All right, that was great though. I really enjoyed him, and he came prepared, and he knew what he was talking about, and he jumped right in. And I love that.